This week, we are breaking down a script by the creator Indart, which dives into the statistical weirdness of that vegan teacher returning to YouTube Live and pulling these massive numbers despite having a seemingly dead community.
Let's get right into it.
So, reading through this, a key theme that just kept coming up for me was this tension between what we see on the screen, the view count, and what's actually happening.
Right, under the hood.
Exactly. The script presents basically two theories for these huge numbers. It's either everyone suddenly loves to hate watch her again, or
people are just scrolling past.
Right, or they're just scrolling past. But here's where I got a little stuck reading it. The analysis doesn't seem to want to pick a lane.
It tries to argue both at the same time.
It does, without really resolving that conflict. Because look at the conclusion.
Okay.
The script argues that these viewers are simply hate watching. That's the big takeaway. But then if you look at the technical breakdown of the Shorts live feed later in the piece, it suggests that a view is counted just by hesitating for, a second while scrolling?
Right. So are they hate watchers? I mean, really?
That's the critical question. I don't think they are. If I'm scrolling and I pause because I dropped my phone, I'm not a hate watcher.
No, you're just a passive impression. That's a great way to put it.
And by lumping these two groups together, the whole argument about her relevance just gets incredibly muddy.
It really does. And I wonder, if we've considered how that weakens the writer's own credibility.
How so?
Well, the script spends so much time detailing how she blocks people, yells at trolls, all of that. It builds this narrative of this grand battle between her and the internet.
Okay, yeah.
But then we get the technical reveal that a view is just a hesitation. You can't really have it both ways.
So if 500,000 people are watching, but the chat is dead slow.
Are they really hate watchers, or are they just digital pedestrians walking past a window?
They're pedestrians, exactly. And I think that distinction needs to be the core of the rewrite. The writer needs to distinguish between, say, algorithmic inflation.
The scrollers.
The scrollers. And then actual engagement, the real hate watch.
But does that really change the conclusion? I mean, the number is still 500,000, whether they're scrollers or trolls.
I think it changes the conclusion entirely.
Okay.
Because it changes the definition of success here, or resurgence. If it's just inflation, she hasn't actually revived her career.
She's just glitching the system.
She's just glitching the system. So, okay, how do we fix this in the tech? We can't just delete the hate-watching part, because clearly some people are there to troll her.
No, you don't delete it, you layer it. I would suggest analyzing it like a retention graph.
Okay.
Instead of saying everyone is hate watching, the script should acknowledge that the 500,000 number is probably, 90% scrollers?
Who contribute to the view count but not the chat.
Exactly. And maybe 10% are the actual hate watchers who leave the negative comments.
That makes a lot of sense. The script mentions she blocks people and yells at trolls. That seems like the perfect moment to differentiate the audience. The trolls she's blocking are the hate watchers.
Precisely. But they cannot account for the full 500,000. The math just doesn't add up.
Not even close. If 500,000 people were actively trolling, her chat would crash the server.
So the scrollers account for the volume.
And the trolls account for the noise.
Exactly. I'd love to see a rewrite of that conclusion. Something like, she hasn't revived her community, she has simply stepped into a high-traffic intersection, the Shorts feed, where people glance at the car wreck.
Which is her face.
And keep driving, rather than parking to watch.
That paints a much, much clearer picture. It validates the technical explanation without totally contradicting the hate watch narrative, and it explains why the chat is so dead.
And it solves that logic gap for the reader right away. It stops them from thinking, wait, these numbers don't make sense.
This actually leads us right into the next point, which is the evidence used to support all these claims. I'm looking at the section on engagement, and frankly, it feels a little soft.
Soft in what way?
Well, the argument relies on these anecdotal observations. We get phrases like, chat barely moved, and likes don't scale.
Right. And the general comparison that creators with 50,000 viewers have more engagement than she does at 500,000.
Exactly. Which, it's directionally correct, but it lacks punch. It feels based on vibes more than evidence.
I see what you mean. If I'm the target audience for this script, someone who loves deep dives into YouTube stats, I want the receipts. I want to know exactly how anomalous this is.
It feels slow isn't a critique, it's an opinion.
That's it.
That's a really fair challenge. I wonder, though, if we can strengthen this by introducing some specific engagement ratios.
That's exactly where my head was at. Ground the critique in something objective.
Okay, so let's look at the part about the chat. The script highlights her behavior, forcing guests to read those dairy industry horror cards.
Or checking if they're 18, yeah.
That's prime real estate for a chat-to-viewer ratio calculation.
Okay, so walk me through what that actually looks like in the script. How do we make the math interesting and not, boring?
You have to make the math devastating.
Okay. You could write something like, in a standard live stream, a 1% engagement rate is a conservative baseline. With 600,000 viewers, 1% means we should be seeing 6,000 messages a minute.
6,000 messages a minute? That's a blur. That's like Matrix code raining down the screen.
Exactly. It's unreadable, but the script notes that we can read individual messages.
Right, she's responding to specific people.
So the suggestion is to explicitly point out that discrepancy. State it clearly. The fact that we can read individual messages suggests the real audience is a tiny fraction of the displayed number.
The engagement rate isn't just low, it's statistically impossible.
Yes, for a genuine audience of that size, it turns a feeling, this is slow, into a mathematical proof that the view count is a lie.
And it supports the passive impression theory we were just talking about.
Right. And there's also the money aspect. The script mentions her begging for super chats.
Another perfect data point.
Yeah. Compare the super chat volume specifically. If she genuinely has 500,000 viewers, the donation train should be constant. Even if people hate her, they pay to insult streamers all the time.
Oh, yeah. TTS donations are a huge industry for lolcows.
Exactly. So highlighting the silence of the donation alert against the noise of the viewer count would be a powerful discrepancy to emphasize.
It's not just that donations are low, it's that statistically, the silence should be deafening.
That makes the argument bulletproof. It moves it from an opinion piece to a forensic accounting of her engagement.
Which is what the listener for this kind of content crave. They want to feel like they're seeing behind the curtain.
With night vision goggles, not just squinting from the cheap seats.
Okay, let's shift gears to the content itself. The material makes a strong case for the streams being, well, bad. It calls them low effort, lame, and exhausting.
And I mean, it is.
I've seen the clips. She's just sitting there asking, "Are you 18?" over and over. It is bad TV.
It is bad TV, but is it bad shorts content?
That's the nuance I think the script is missing.
I think so too.
It dismisses the content as just lame, which implies she doesn't know what she's doing. But I think the writer's missing this opportunity to analyze why this specific, repetitive format might actually be optimized for the shorts feed.
I agree completely. The script falls into that trap of subjective taste instead of objective analysis. If the goal is to stop a scroll, maybe annoying is the entire point.
Exactly. In the context of a vertical scrolling feed, repetition and shock value like yelling at a guest for giggling, that's what stops the thumb.
So the suggestion is to pivot the critique from it's bad to it's structurally designed to hook scrollers.
Let's build on that. The script mentions she sings a 15-second song on TikTok. That's a massive clue that the writer just breezes past.
15 seconds is the golden loop for short-form content.
So instead of mocking the song for being short and repetitive, we analyze it as a loop.
Yes, we argue that her repetitive loops, the songs asking, "Are you 18?" they function like a glitched NPC.
Like those NPC streams? The people who act like video game characters for donations? Ice cream so good!
Exactly like that. We know that genre performs well on TikTok and Shorts. She has essentially gamified her own behavior. She's acting like a broken robot.
That's a very different lens. It's not low effort, it's high friction.
Right. Look at the pre-written dairy industry horror card she forces guests to read. The script frames this as exhausting and cringy.
It is cringy.
It is. But for a scroller who just landed there, that's a friction point. It's a moment of confusion. Why is this lady forcing a teenager to read a card? What is happening?
And that confusion pauses the thumb.
Correct. Even if it's just to figure out what's going on, that hesitation triggers the view count. So the feedback is, don't just say the stream is exhausting to watch. Frame it as an interactive friction point designed to arrest a user's attention.
She isn't trying to make a good show. She's trying to make a speed bump in the feed.
That's a perfect way to put it.
It totally changes the tone of the critique. It gives her credit for being a manipulator of the algorithm rather than just some washed-up creator flailing around.
And honestly, it makes the Indart script feel much smarter. It moves from look at this weird lady to look at this algorithmic exploit.
I see what you're going for. Let's talk about the narrative structure itself, though, because right now the pacing feels a little backloaded.
You mean the shorts feed reveal?
Exact. The script spends the whole first half wondering, how is this possible? It describes her erratic behavior, the blocking, the mispronouncing words, and treats it like a mystery.
And then way later, we get the technical explanation.
Way later. It's a classic Scooby-Doo structure, but I worry the audience might feel a little cheated by the answer.
Because you spend 10 minutes thinking, is it bots? Is it black magic? And the answer turns out to be, oh, she just held her phone vertically. It feels a bit deflating if you make the audience wait that long for that detail.
I agree. And the detailed description of the metrics in the middle feels contextless if we don't know why we're looking at them yet.
So the suggestion is to foreshadow the technical explanation earlier. Let the audience view her behavior through that lens from the start.
Right. We don't want to give away the ending, but you need to plant the gun in the first act if you're going to fire it in the third.
So what does that look like in the script? How do we hint at it without just spoiling it?
When discussing the sudden jump from 10,000 views to 600,000 with no build-up, add a physical clue. The script says, the numbers looked like viral hits.
Okay.
Let's look at where the script mentions she quietly shifted her focus to live streaming. That is the perfect place to drop a detail about the aspect ratio.
The vertical versus horizontal distinction.
Exactly. If the script mentions early on that she switched to vertical video, it plants the seed that this is a mobile-first or shorts strategy. It doesn't scream algorithm, but it gives the savvy listener the breadcrumbs.
So when the reveal happens later that Shorts Live counts views differently, it feels like a satisfying click, an aha moment.
Right. Aha! That's why the format changed. Instead of a brand new topic being introduced out of nowhere, it makes the whole script feel more cohesive.
It binds the crazy behavior to the technical exploit.
Because if you don't mention the vertical aspect early, her behavior just looks like madness. If you do mention it, her behavior looks like formatting.
So let's just zoom out for a second. We've talked about audience segmentation, data ratios, content strategy, and narrative structure. I think the overarching theme here is intent versus accident. The current script leans heavily on the idea that this is all a happy accident for her.
That she's just crazy, she went live, and the algorithm saved her.
Exactly. But our critiques suggest focusing on the intentionality of it.
Right. If we accept that the repetitive loops are an NPC strategy, and we accept the vertical format is a deliberate choice, then the story isn't old lady stumbles into fame.
Its story is old lady hacks the system.
And that is a much more compelling narrative. It transforms the subject from a laughingstock into a formidable, albeit controversial digital operator.
Which, for the listener of Indart who's interested in YouTube metacomment and creator economy mechanics,
that hacker angle is much juicier than the lolcow angle.
it elevates the whole analysis. It stops being a reaction video in script form and becomes a real case study in platform mechanics.
Exactly.
So, to wrap this all up, let's recap the main action items for Indart. We've thrown a lot at the script today.
We have, but I think it boils down to 4 main pillars.
First up, the audience.
Distinguish clearly between the passive scrollers and the active hate watchers. Don't lump them together. Scrollers are the inflation, trolls are the engagement.
Second, the data.
Use concrete engagement ratios. Don't just say it feels slow. Do the math, show us that 1% gap, and prove the ghost town theory with numbers.
Third, the content.
Analyze the repetitive content, the songs, the loops, as an algorithmic strategy. Stop calling it bad and start calling it high friction. She's an NPC, not a failed musician.
And finally, the structure.
Integrate the technical shorts context, specifically the vertical video aspect earlier in the narrative. Foreshadow that reveal so the explanation feels like the solution to the mystery, not just an appendix at the end.
This has been a really deep dive. We invite the listener to refine the argument, apply these filters, and submit the next draft for further review. We'd love to see how this evolves.
Absolutely. It's a strong draft, but with these tweaks, it could be a definitive case study.
Until next time.